Welcome back, everyone. Today I want to show you the game changer for outdoors YouTube channels. This is my new toy. Let's talk about the DJI Mavic Mini. So as you can see, this is a drone. Yes, I jumped at the opportunity to pick up DJI's new Mavic Mini. It is the lightest, I call it a smart drone because these drones are amazing. They're not like your typical small drones that you can buy, for example, at Canadian Tire or Best Buy, where they're 100% user operated in terms of controlling the flight. I've had those little tiny ones that you get at home, you fly them into the ceiling, into the wall, into the grass, and they're dead. Forget about it. This I call a smart drone because it has onboard software to make your flight amazing and a really enjoyable experience. This is a game changer for anyone with outdoors YouTube channels. Let's talk a bit more about it. And first off, I want to thank all of you, my subscribers, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't get this unit. With your support clicking ads, I was able to purchase this unit. So thank you very much. And of course, you all will reap the benefits. This is going to be a game changer for my channel. And I want to let you know, if you have a YouTube channel, this will really help your channel out too, giving you some amazing footage, just a different perspective for your viewers. So what makes this unit so unique is that here it is all folded up. It is about the size of a smartphone. Let's compare this unit to the size of my phone. There it is. It is the size of my smartphone. Now I have a Samsung phone here. It's a little bit larger than most, but look at that. It is the size of a smartphone when it's all folded up. Just want to show you the remote controller here. So it's pretty easy, and I attach it to my phone, and I have a DJI Fly app that tells me where I am, has a flight log, tells me my altitude, my distance. There's a map that actually tracks my entire flight. So you have to have a smartphone for this. That's the one downside of it. You can't just operate it by the controllers alone. You've got two control toggles right here, up, down, left, right. This one's bank left, bank right, descend and ascend. And if you there's a few little tricks. If you go down, you can land it. So in an emergency scenario, pulling this way or that way will cut the motors. So there's a little plug-in that goes to your smartphone, and this setup comes with 3 different connectors, for iPhones. So there's like a special iPhone connector, a micro USB connector, and I have a USB-C connector attached on this one. This is the return home button. So if your app fails and you need to get the unit home, you just sort of push this button right here. And this button, of course, is to power it on. So it's fairly light, compact. I do find it difficult in the sun. You get a lot of reflection on your glass here, so you have to turn up your brightness big time. There are little hoods you can get for this so that you can be shielded from the sunlight. So that's pretty cool. So basically you can connect your aircraft when you're ready to roll. It sets your home base so that the unit will come back to you, and you're ready to go. It'll tell you if there's any warnings in the area based on airports or other interferences, and when you're ready, it'll clear you for takeoff. In really restricted zones, your unit will not be allowed to take off, like right by an airport, for example. Closer look at the aircraft itself. So the front of the little aircraft here, you have your camera, and it's on a 3-axis gimbal, which is amazing. Steady shots are paramount, and this unit does not disappoint. You can see here all the blades, and at the back here you have your SD card holder, your charge cable port, and if you open this up, there's your battery. The battery comes out by just pushing in and pulling out, and there it is. So highly advisable to buy more than one battery so that you can kind of keep going with your flights. Underneath, obviously, that's where you turn it off and turn it on. And it has landing sensors. So basically it has down vision and infrared for seeing down. And I want you to take a look at the side here. This says that it is 249 grams. So when it's 249 grams, what that means is that you don't have to have a drone license for this. As of January 1st, 2019, any drones above 250 grams have to follow a lot of restrictions, a lot of laws. And one of them is that you have to have a drone pilot's license. So anything above 250 grams, you have to have a pilot's license. It's $10. You write the test online, and away you go. But this is a game changer, because there's other rules and regulations as well that you need to have for larger drones. This one is actually considered a toy, even though, you know, it's not a toy. I still, you know, follow lots of rules and regulations with this just for safety purposes, because this can go quite high in the air and can travel up to 4-kilometer distances. So, you know, you want to be careful with it, but it's still considered a toy in the eyes of the law, much like the other tiny drones you can pick up at the store like Best Buy or Canadian Tire, Staples. You know, you've all seen those little tiny drones. But the difference with this is it has smart technology in it. So, you know, it really has a very smooth flight, really nice user interface through the DJI Fly app. So I'll show you in a minute. There is an app on my phone that helps run this. It has a beautiful onboard camera that shoots full HD, so 2700K. It doesn't shoot 4K, so if you guys want to shoot 4K, that's a little bit disappointing for you. But it shoots 2700K approximately, and it has a 12 megapixel camera. It has an awesome, you know, range of view here on this camera. It has motors that can make it look straight and look down. And it can also track the aircraft. There's different ways with the app that you can kind of set up how your camera works, which is really cool. And it's on a 3-axis gimbal, meaning that your shots are incredibly steady, even in higher winds. You know, when you're flying around, your shot is cinematic. Let me tell you that much. We'll get into showing you a few scenes that I took with this camera. I've only had this a few days. It just literally came out. It was like hot off the press. They had to go get it out of the back for me, literally probably out of the truck. So I've been flying it for a few days now, every day, teaching myself new things, and I haven't broken it yet, so that's a good thing. The thing I advised for getting this unit is to get the insurance policy. DJI offers that, so it's about $39 US, and it's a very small nominal price to replace the unit if you completely total it or sink it into the water or something like that. So I think you have up to 2 replacements in the year, so that's really advisable, because you never know when things can happen. So I'll take you out here on some of the flights that I did recently. Here I am, day 1. I'm poking around in a marsh. It's super awesome to take off. There is a button to hit to start the takeoff. So you hit the takeoff and it starts hovering about 1.2 meters. So around, you know, chest height for most people. That way you can get a chance to lock down the home location, and the unit will do that. It'll mark that spot on the GPS as where it's going to return home, where you're located. If it doesn't set that up, then you need to restart the unit, do it again, because if you don't mark that return home spot, if you need to use it in an emergency purpose, then you know, you're not going to get it back. It's going to take off somewhere else, or you'll have to manually drive it back to you and manually land it. So once it hovers, get used to the controls. It didn't take me very long to get used to this. So while it was hovering, I just practiced forwards, backwards, bank left, bank right, rotate camera left, rotate camera right. Then I took off. So I let it go up to a higher altitude. There are settings within the app that allow you to set the altitude as to how high you want it to go, and your sort of your return to base height. I always fly it at least above tree line. I don't like to go too high, because I don't want to run into a bird. I don't want to run into, you know, some other kind of interference zone, because this is run on radio frequency as well, and there's you know, possibilities for interference. I think one time I ended up with a bit of aircraft interference in terms of the radio signal, so you want to be careful. I don't really want to go out in zones where, you know, there is more potential for interference. So I fly it usually around 30 meters or so in the air. That clears the majority of trees where I was going on this first flight. And boy, was it amazing. I took it around. I was flying it in P mode. There's 3 different modes. We'll get into P, C, and S mode. P mode is just sort of the standard flight mode. It controls different speeds for your ascent and your descent and how fast you're going. It doesn't smooth out the shots as nicely as if you were in a cinematic mode, which really slows the unit right down for those really beautiful smooth turns, and I'll show you that coming up. So on my first flight, I was really fortunate exploring the marsh. I actually ended up spotting a coyote that was hunting. I didn't even realize that on my camera at the time. The picture you get live from the camera, the live feed from the camera on the airplane onto your, so live feed that you get from your drone to your phone. The picture is really good, but it's a bit compressed, so you don't always see the extreme details. It wasn't until I got home that I saw this guy hunting in the field. Really cool. He was high enough up that he did not notice my drone. In fact, he more looks over at me. He's probably like a couple hundred meters away from me, so you can see at one point I must have made a noise and he kind of looked over. However, you know, you want to stay away from wildlife. You don't want to harass them. That was an accident actually that I caught that. So lots of potential there, guys, for going over different areas, exploring natural areas. You may actually be surprised and find some deer or moose or, you know, coyote, wolves. You just want to see them in their natural habitat, but making sure to keep them at a higher altitude so you don't disturb their behavior. As you can see, the picture is really good, even though there's high contrast with the snow and the trees. I find it does a pretty good job at balancing out the white balance. You can actually manually adjust the white balance, and a lot of these bits of footage that you'll see, I've actually have it set at -1, but you can adjust that to your liking through the app, of course. Well, when I was done that flight, I hit return to home, and it will ascend to a height that is predetermined for returning home, and it hovers above you, and it comes right basically back to your spot there, and then I just sort of grab it and flip it over to turn it off. I don't advise that. You should probably manually land it. I have bitten my finger more than once trying to do that maneuver. Those blades are really, really sharp. And when you're flying, if you happen to run into higher wind conditions, the app will tell you that you are getting a bit of issues with wind. So I just basically, one time I got up to 42 meters and it warned me of a high wind warning. So I basically just descended the little drone there, and I had no problems. It's very stable. In the manual, I think it says you can fly it in up to 30-kilometer-an-hour winds, which I think is ridiculous. I would never do that. That's asking for a problem. Quite often, I've been very fortunate over the last few days during testing. I've been flying it 5-8 kilometer-an-hour winds. It's November, so I've been flying it in conditions that are quite cool. So around 0 to -7. The manual recommends operating at above 0 Celsius, obviously, and I've been flying this unit between 0 Celsius and -5, -7. So that does affect battery time. I'm very impressed. How long, do you get on a battery? Typically, in perfect conditions, it's 30 minutes, which is impressive for a drone. I've been getting around 23, 24 minutes in very cold temperatures, and I'm not exhausting the battery. You don't want to run it till the very last second because you have to return it home to you. And if you're several hundred meters away, you don't know what if the battery conks and it will force land at that point if the battery is going to die. So if you're flying over water or you're in a forested area, you don't want to have to go hunting for your drone. There is an option on there. God forbid something happens, it will find your drone. It does monitor where it is through GPS. You can see it on a map. You can see all your flight data on a map. And it's also stored in a flight log on board. So you'll be able to get it back, but I don't want to have to go out on the ice and go get my drone. I flew it over a river, checking on ice conditions because, ice fishing season is right upon us. I kind of wanted to see what was going on. Certainly the ice is not ready, but got some beautiful shots. Take a look here. I'm flying over the river. Look at that freeze up, how those little circular patterns there of the ice. So most of this was flown in the usual P mode, and it can be pretty jerky if you're trying to, get different views and turn the camera. So I tried to switch it into C mode, which worked seamlessly. During the flight, I just switched it. The software switched over. So what it does is it controls the speed of your turns, your ascent and your descent. And so now, you can see how it's very smooth for my turns and provides a nice cinematic look at the area without the viewer getting too nauseous from you altering the camera and moving it too quickly. There is a sport mode as well, so you can shoot fast objects. I haven't had a chance to use that one yet, but all the software on this unit is extremely impressive to me. It has several really interesting programs within the DJI app to do sort of selfie modes. So let's take a look at a few of the ones I experimented with. So here we go, circle mode. This one you can pick an altitude at which it travels at, and it will rotate around the subject. You highlight the subject on the app with a little green square, and for 15 seconds the drone will fly around you at that altitude pointed at the subject. So that can be pretty neat. You're in the woods doing something and you want your viewers to see what's going on. That's a good way to do it. Another one like that one is called the helix mode. So basically, when you click that one, it's going to start at a predetermined height and ascend, going around kind of in a corkscrew around you. So it kind of gets farther and farther away, wider on the turns, and provides an interesting view. Again, this shot lasts 15 seconds. There's another one called the droney view. It starts at your subject that you highlight on the app, on the screen, and it rapidly takes off away from the subject, so that you can kind of see a perspective shot from where the subject is standing. So if you're on the East Coast, you're standing on a beautiful bluff or in a fjord, you're going to have an amazing shot. It starts very close, or as close as you want, to the subject. There are some, predetermined altitudes, and then it quickly travels away from them, providing a really interesting shot. Another one is called Rocket, and this one I see, say for example, you're having a family dinner or a wedding. I can hover over the crowd and then shoot straight up into the air to a predetermined altitude and get a really cool shot as it's traveling away from you. So I can see that being really awesome for a perspective. If you're out on a trip in the woods, your campsite, and you want to get a perspective of where you are, I think this would be a really good application of that mode. So surveying an area is another really cool tool with this. Obviously you cannot use drones for hunting. I think there's regulations on how long, if you were to use a drone to scout out an area, how I think it's over 24 hours or more that you can't hunt in that area after you've scouted with a drone. I don't know, each area is different, but I just use it for general, like what's going on in this habitat. So you can see here, I'm exploring this marsh where there's a ton of muskrat lodges. None of the muskrats were out, obviously, so I wasn't bothering them, but you can go, with this device, this drone, you can go pretty high up, take a look at general perspective of the area, and then you can take it down fairly low, as low as your nerves can take it, because you really don't want to end up in the cattails, because this unit doesn't have prop guards. You have to buy that extra. So again, you want to make sure you're safely above a distance where you're gonna ruin the unit. But here you can see I can get pretty close. I can angle the camera down to take a look at these muskrat lodges. You can see some of the lodges are active. There's footprints on them. So that's really neat. That's going to be a game changer for a lot of the footage I'm doing. If I want to explore something, if I think I see something in the distance, like a beaver dam or whatever, I want to take a look at it, buzz by it, well, I can go and take a look. Here, as you can see, I was flying over an area and I found a nest, actually. I found an old osprey nest. Obviously you'd never fly over anything like this during nesting season. You don't want to be harassing wildlife, but it's winter time. Osprey aren't around right now, so I kept a good height anyway to just inspect and see what's going on. And as you can see, a pretty cool shot there of what their nests actually look like. So no way was ever going to land in there or do anything inappropriate. I just wanted to have a quick peek at it, and that's pretty cool. Again, be responsible, don't harass wildlife. A couple things I don't like about this unit are that it doesn't have object avoidance. So it has downward vision, and it has through cameras and infrared. So that's helpful for landing. It does not avoid trees or other objects. So you really have to fly this thing responsibly within your line of sight. And obviously you can kind of see too on your camera, on your phone, the live stream of what's going on. So you're kind of in the cockpit, but you got to be careful. You can ram into things pretty good. Other higher end model DJIs actually have software to avoid objects. The other thing that I don't like about this unit, again, there's no prop guards. You have to buy that extra. A lot of extra things you have to get with it, so they can be expensive. So that's another thing to be mindful of. You always want to have extra batteries, maybe an extra cable, some prop guards that are separate. So that's kind of a downer. You get the unit, it's nice and cheap, relatively cheap compared to other DJI units. It runs around $400. Other DJI Phantoms, for example, are in probably the $1,200 to $1,500 range. But you want to protect your investment, so you kind of have to spend a little bit extra money. I'm going to buy some prop guards. I'm also going to buy, there's special elastics that kind of hold the little propellers down for storage, because it's pretty easy to rip them off. So, you have the base unit, kind of like a car, but you have to upgrade to get a few things to make your experience a bit more enjoyable. Another thing to consider, I think problematic, is the lack of a smartphone or a compatible smartphone with the DJI Mavic Mini. So make sure, before you purchase this unit, that you are able to operate this drone with your smartphone. Last thing you want is to buy this drone and then have to buy $1,000 smartphone that's actually compatible with it. I've heard that's happened to some people. So, and of course they're not going to do that. So anyways, just be forewarned that those are a few things that I see a bit problematic with this unit. So overall, I give this a 4.5 stars out of 5. I think it's amazing. It's gonna be a game changer for this channel. I'm gonna be using it a lot. I'm hoping I don't break it, but it's excellent for a new drone flyer. This is who this is designed for. This is designed for someone who's not familiar with flying drones, who wants exceptional video quality and exceptional photography quality, and a good price point. So this is definitely something I would recommend to new drone flyers. Who wouldn't want this? Would be someone who's really doing professional videography. You want some of the bigger drones, the ones with object avoidance, especially if you want to get some really amazing shots close to areas where this thing could be fatally wounded. So but this one I think is excellent for startup YouTubers that have an outdoors channel, I think this is a game changer. And again, because it is 249 grams, it's an ultralight drone, you don't have to get a drone license, or register this unit. That's the other thing too. When it's under 249, you don't have to register the unit and you don't have to have a license to operate it. So this is a game changer for everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and you're going to see lots more from this DJI Mavic Mini, and I'll give you some more updates as I use it. But for now, it's a thumbs up from me. I hope you guys have a wonderful week as always. Take care.